right, and before we get up out of here, I just want to have a quick little chat with y'all talking about, listen, the Game of the Year race. The Game of the Year race is low-key heating up. We're at the fall season. They got a couple more months of the Game Awards. It has been announced for, December 12th or whatever, so we'll use that as a base of reference. Real quickly, I want to get y'all game that you think most likely will be Game of the Year, and then let me get your personal Game of the Year so far. I might have to revisit this stuff at the end of the year as well, just get a beat on everything. But Fig, I want to throw it to you first. First, give me your most likely game to win Game of the Year.
It's kind of weird because this is a bit of a weird year because if they allow the Erdtree DLC to be qualified, because that's a big thing. Because the Erdtree could have released as a separate game and people would not even notice a difference.
It's facts.
But if they allow a DLC, that's going to be up, and I'm sure they're going to win awards. They're going to win some awards, but I don't think they're going to be the winner of the Game of the Year. I think Astrobot has a very strong case of winning Game of the Year, and I think Wukong will be nominated, but it'll be in the Spider-Man space from like how Spider-Man was last year.
Yeah, they just like a step behind.
Just a step behind, because there are things with the Wukong game that while the game itself is expansive and it's great looking, there's a lot of technical issues. There's a lot of issues with pacing. There's a lot of stuff in the game that you could tell that this was this company's first effort of putting things together, that I'm sure when they make their next game, it's probably going to be wild, and come things together. So if you look at all that, I think Astrobot right now is probably the most likely candidate. But if I'm being extremely honest, there's nothing this year compared to last year that stands out as head over heels the best, unless they consider Erdtree its own entity.
Yeah, no, I understand it. I understand that. What do you think is the most likely game to be Game of the Year so far?
So one game that, and it's funny because like I don't want to take the link that you put in here as my answer, but I do think from a standpoint of like how Game of the Years of the past have worked, I think the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And the only reason I say that is because it's got the perfect mixture of graphics, nostalgia, gameplay. Like it's got like the whole shebang, right? Like if somebody said this, there's no real argument, right? If I say something like Helldivers, they'd be like, that was amazing for like a month, but whatever happened to after it? Can a live service really do that? I completely agree with the Wukong sentiment. I love Wukong, and it may be one of mine. I think if I had to choose my Game of the Year for this year, it would probably end up being Tekken 8, because that's a game that I put in like 300 hours in at this point. Like I can't sit here and look at you and be like, yeah, 265 hours. Definitely not my favorite Game of the Year. Like that's an absurd amount of time for me to put into a game.
Yeah.
I love Space Marines too, but that game I love it. But it's like the campaign is about as long as Plucky Squire, it felt like. Now, did it feel that way on that difficulty? No, I felt like I was at war for years. But it is pretty short and it is lacking in some things. I think whenever the game gets its full roadmap completed, it's gonna be the game that it should have been on launch. Then I could have been like easy Game of the Year contender. But I do think Astrobot is in such a strong contention because it came out at the perfect time. It's close enough for people not to have forgotten about it, but it's also super good. Like in its own right, it's super good, and it's so unique in and of itself, being a PlayStation platformer. Like PlayStation platformers in a sentence is so weird for me to say these days. But I like Astrobot a lot. I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy. Oh God.
Oh no. So I was also saying I agree with you. I think Final Fantasy and Astrobot are, if the awards was getting pulled right now, I think those two are actually the number one, number two most likely.
Yeah. I could agree with that. I'd say most likely to win. Yeah, it's probably in between Rebirth or Astrobot at this point in time. Again, Rebirth just because it debuted very, very strongly, and just the content expansion they had in that. It's just like it's a smooth, polished experience for the most part, and you know, it just did what it's supposed to do. It wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't as crazy as the first remake or whatever, but it was enough of a quality. It was enough of a quality continuation, rather, that you can just say it was one of the best projects of the year, just off of Virtue, off of General Principle, off of GP. So there's that. And again, the timing of Astrobot, like you said, when was so perfect, because again, it dropped at this point in the year, and also this close in proximity to after Concord had its crazy flop. So there's even more love invested into this game. So I think the sentiment is kind of like supercharged with Astrobot. And what a statement it would be if Astrobot won Game of the Year over all these big heavy hitters and saying like, yo, you need to play platformers, weirder games, AA games, or games that might not have been in the forefront from a team that's a piece of Japan studio, no less. You know what I mean? Like, that would say a lot about where the gaming industry could head, and that could be a crazy statement made. But I will say, just by a hair, Rebirth would be Game of the Year so far. I think just what's most likely to win is that. Rebirth by a hair, but I think Astrobot's close. I think Helldiver's probably 2 paces behind, and then the rest, I don't know. If you ask a dweeb, Stellar Blade for the ass cheeks was Game of the Year to some people. I don't know, man. They love it. They love that weird shit, but that's on them. They love the digitized cheeks. I don't mind them, but it's not Game of the Year, guys. Come on, let's be real. Let's keep it stacked.
I can 100% see like the nominees. If they had 5 nominees, they would have like Astrobot, Final Fantasy. Then they might throw in a Helldivers, just because how big it was at that time.
Yeah, I think Helldivers, Black Myth in there, and
Black Myth.
If the last, I think they usually do 6 or 7. So I would say
6, I think.
Oh, 6. So it's a toss up between Warhammer, Stellar Blade, and Dragon's Dogma. I'm about to say.
I would say out of those, they probably will give it to Warhammer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
they'll probably give it to Warhammer, but it'll be one of those things of like Wukong again is going to fit the Spider-Man role, that when it doesn't win, all the internet will cry for about a month. And because last year was special because there were so many good games, but you could not denial Larian.
BG3 was a perfect storm. You couldn't deny that. You couldn't stop the rain. You couldn't stop the rain.
But also games like that game and like Elden Ring are 2 good examples. Games like that don't come around too often. Those are like
generational hits, bro. They lasted most of the year in terms of impact. Like over half of the year was filled with that discourse in the mainstream, like in the mainstream. Like not just us, even casual people were like, why are people having sex with bears, bro? What's this game? That's when you know you hit the zeitgeist.
Well, you know what's crazy? You could go to Steam DB, which is the aggregator of like the charts. Baldur's Gate 3 is still in the top 20 most played games currently. That is a single player game.
Facts.
No DLC, nothing. Just the game.
Just the game. That means people are playing that game over and over and over and over again. And now that they released mod tools, and
it's over.
Here's the funny thing with the mod tools. The mod tools are very limited. You couldn't do like any leveling or model design of the but they already hacked it.
Oh damn! It's reps.
So now the mod tools can do it. So it's a wrap. Baldur's Gate is going to reach Skyrim. There's going to be Baldur's Gate 3 for the next 10 years.
Fully.
But those type of games are very, very, very rare. So you can't say, oh, there's going to be a head winner. I think this is going to be a situation of you have a lot of very solid games that do things in a very unique way, but the one that has the most broad appeal, that has the most praise overall, was either going to be Final Fantasy or Astrobot, and the rest of them are just going to be honorary nominations.
I agree. Again, we got spoiled over the last 2 years because again, those shits are rare. That's hard to come by. It's like you're seeing Messi and Ronaldo play in football, and you're like, yo, the next year they're not as good, or they're getting older and stuff. So other players come in like, yo, they're still very good players. We just saw the apex of what gaming could possibly be. So when we're back down to kind of our normal levels of seeing fantastic players or world-class players, we're sometimes, some of us are still judging it to the standard of the greatest we've ever seen. And it's like, yo, we just gotta temper our expectations a little bit. Let's bring it back down. Like, these are still great games. We can still enjoy these to the hilt, but you know, it's hard to compete with some of the best things we've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Like any Soulsborne that came after Elden Ring, a lot of people were like, they might have liked it, but no way are they ever going to compare it to like Elden Ring.
Absolutely
Like,
not. That's sacrilege.
Exactly. Like Lies of P was an amazing first effort by a small dev. They were very much kind of like the Wukong type of people. That this was their first real game, and it was an amazing effort. But it's probably the best non-FromSoft Souls game ever made. But even then, it's not Elden Ring.
And that's the comment they always give it. Like, yo, the highest praise I've seen this thing get. This is the closest somebody's gotten to a Soulsborne game that isn't FromSoft. That's high, and that's high praise. That is a compliment. That's an insanely positive comment. But it shows you the levels. It's like, yo, you're the closest anybody's come to Elden Ring. That's crazy. Like, you just gotta take that in stride, gang. That is what it is.
Yeah, like it. You know, it's like saying like going to in terms of like NBA. It's like, yeah, Carmelo Anthony, amazing player, great player. Ain't LeBron.
Facts. It's facts. Listen, Melo, my guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Knicks fan. That's my guy. But you gotta call spade a spade. Gotta call spade a spade. That's fair. Yeah. That's true. But real quick, so what is your personal favorite game of the year so far? Fig, I'm gonna throw it to you first.
Oh man, put me on the spot because I've been playing games all over the place of different eras of different ages. You know me, I play old crap.
Hey, listen, you can throw retro in there. Listen, I'm not giving no bounds on this.
What game of the year, not the game that came out this year.
This year. Yeah.
You know, most of these gamers out here don't be playing games past 6 years ago, anyways. Or,
exactly.
They don't be playing new shit either, bro. You be alright. You know what I'm saying? You be good.
Honestly, I will probably say, if you take in like early last year, my personal game of the year was probably oh man, I just got the damn name of the game. It was the indie JRPG game that came out.
Sea of Stars?
Sea of Stars.
Let's go. That's a good one. Man of culture. That's what we talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, Sea of Stars. And then if I was going to go incredibly retro, I would say Daggerfall Unity.
Okay.
And Daggerfall Unity, you guys never heard Daggerfall before. That is the second game in the Elder Scrolls series. This is the great grandpa to Skyrim. I'll say his name, Inter Karma. He follows me on Twitter, super nice guy. He actually spent time porting the original game to the Unity engine and fixing it, because the original game was a buggy, hot mess half the time, because it was one of those. It was in '96, and they were doing generative quests and stuff, and
interesting. Like, so a bunch of shit can go wrong with that.
Yeah, so the thing was like all broken. Like half the quests were broken half the time. So he fixed all that. Fixed a bunch of stuff, and since it was done in the Unity engine, people started modding it like you would mod Skyrim, and now you can go on places like Nexus Mod and find hundreds of mods for a almost 30-year plus game. Wow. Plus game. So, and he's actually decided to move on. He gave it to a friend of his to keep on, and he's actually working on his own personal game now.
Fire.
Nice. Love that for him.
Yeah. So. But yeah, so I guess you could say those are my two, because I played Daggerfall a lot and Sea of Stars just because culture.
Facts. I hear it, man. It's two good picks right there. When your personal game of the year so far?
I still think I'm gonna have to lock in Tekken, even though that game is maybe made me lose many years off my life. Honorable mentions are definitely Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Huge fan of the Yakuza series. Wukong is out there. That's the thing. There's so many many good games out there. But I think I would have to say those two. If I had to pick another, like if I had to round it off on 3, I don't want to say this yet because I have not played the game yet, but I think Metaphor is gonna be up there. I think Metaphor Refantastic is gonna be up there because I'm a
people not saying enough about that game right now, bro. I'm like, yo, it might come through and like sweep some shit. It might come through and say some real stomp on business, bro. It'll really stand on business.
I think it's because I compare it to the buzz that Persona 5 got. Persona 5 got a lot of good buzz, but I think it's because it came out at such a really good time. Like Metaphor is dropping like right around, it's in October, so it's right around Call of Duty. It's around a bunch of other games that are dropping. And it's also not Persona, but it is basically Persona. So I think that if the game works well and if it does the thing Persona does, we're gonna hear a lot about it. But because it doesn't have that name brand, people are not paying attention to it right now.
And that's 100% true, because when Persona 5 first released, it had a decent amount of buzz, but it never really reached like big level. And if you notice that over the years, especially after Royale version came out, it started building up to the point. Remember when it got into the Smash Brothers and people were like, wait, why is Persona 5 Royal and why is Joker in Smash Brothers? And then it started blowing up like crazy. The game started blowing up like crazy, and then you looked at the re-release of Persona 3, and that did incredibly well. And so Metaphor, I think, is a situation where the Persona fans are just like sitting there with their fingers crossed, staring at it, going, please be good. And they're waiting for it to drop before pulling any trigger. But once that trigger is pulled, it's going to get pulled hard.
And if those trailers tell me anything, that it might end up being my game of the year, because I need a good turn-based JRPG to round off this year. I've had my turn-based with Yakuza like a Dragon. I've had my fighting games. I've had my shooters. I've had my action adventures. I need my Persona-esque game. I need the true blue JRPG experience. Not to say that Like a Dragon wasn't that, but there's levels to this. Just like you said, like if you compare Like a Dragon 7 or Like a Dragon 8 to a Persona game, it's like it's good, but it's not it. Like I need the LeBron James of JRPG or my LeBron James.
Exactly. Like I love Like a Dragon. I haven't played Infinite Wealth yet, but it's like one of those things of like, I know I'm gonna like it, so I'm just waiting until I get the mood to jump into it.
Fairs. And I'll give my potential game of the year. Honestly, my game of the year so far is Helldivers 2. I'm not gonna lie. I think
I like that.
I think the zeitgeist that it got into, and the fact that I knew of Helldivers 1 and I was like, oh, that's a cool game. You know what I'm saying? That's fire. But the more we saw of it, I was like, no, wait a minute. Hold on. This is good. Especially because I am very much a whore for co-op games. I adore co-op games. I love them so much. I have a deep love and respect. I earnestly think they are top 2, if not top 3 at worst, best genres to play games in, and the best genres in gaming, period. I have a very, very deep penchant for co-op stuff, so the fact that thing came through like a absolute tank, and just the experience, even if it was like crazy brief and we still got some time to get into it with the updates or whatever, for the time that I played, I enjoyed myself so much. Almost every minute of it was such a fun time. There was not one time where I was frustrated or whatever. I was having fun. It was pure unadulterated fun from beginning to end, and I had absolutely no issues with it, man. I loved it, man. The only issue I had with it was externally, because people were bitching about metas, and I was like, bro, stop bitching, just play the game. You know what I'm saying? So it was that. But I will say, after, there are still a lot of things in the running. There's still a ton of things that I got to get to and play and finish and see where I'm at. Closest obviously is gonna be Black Myth Wukong. I'm waiting for that game since 2021. So I think by the end of it, I think I will enjoy myself. But right now, I'm having an absolutely fun time with it. Astrobot, I got to get through. Warhammer, I do want to play. I got good indications from when, so I will be picking up at some point. I still got to get through Rebirth. I got to play that at some point. That's going to take some hours, but I will find some ways. We'll find some time for it. What else is around here? I was looking.
Dead Rising Deluxe Master Edition. I actually just bought that.
Oh my goodness, man, it's crazy. Let's see. It won't be my game of the year, but I'm just glad it's here. Age of Mythology Retold. Shout out to Age of Myth. Shout out to Age of Myth, baby.
So
we got that
good.
Game Pass back in. And we back in the loop, baby. You know what I'm saying? We love to see it. We love to see a legend back in the city. Let me see.
Also, you got Frostpunk that just
Frostpunk 2.
Oh,
I heard
I
that
gotta
got
tap
very
in.
good reviews. They got very good reviews, and I do want to check that out. Let me see. There was there's a bunch of stuff that dropped that was so fun, but right now I think those are probably the top of my list. Right now I'm also playing through the Plucky Squire, which I think has been really fun so far. Again, definitely want to go through that. I think I got 3 chapters left, but I've been having a blast with that so far. Big shout out to what's it called, Tales of Kanzera Zao. I think that's an underrated project. Might not be my game of the year, but also a very cool indie project that I and we got to get involved with and play through. So that was a dope time. That score will be score of the year for me. I'm sorry, they're still number one. I don't think there's a score that's beaten it this year. But yeah, I think right now it's Helldivers 2, but Black Myth Wukong is definitely hot on the heels. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens at the end of the year.